All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons. As you can see, we are dressed for the times. I'm wearing my official USA flag tie because tonight there's a big showdown. We thought all big showdowns were in sports, but tonight is a big showdown in politics as jumping Joe Biden takes on the devilish Donald Trump. Well, to some people, he's probably not devilish. But anyway, Trump, Biden going on right now. So I know those of you who are tuning in, you probably got one eye on the TV screen as well. I'm not mad at you. Matter of fact, I might pop the screen on just a little bit myself so you guys can take a look at it while we broadcast to you here on all platforms. Platform number one, we're of course on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube Live. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitter, I should say. That's Periscope TV. We be everywhere. And of course, we're using the wonderful StreamYard platform. I'm going to go ahead and take them off the screen so we don't, use up all the stuff. There we go. And of course, we want to give a big shout out to one of our premier sponsors for high school football, and that is Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln. You can check them out and shop them online 24/7 at allenvigilford.net. And we're very thankful to Mr. Vigil and all the folks that have supported us through Allen Vigil Ford. So thank God for him and thank God for all of you who are watching. Big shout outs, of course, to those of you watching on the replay on Periscope. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the hearts that are fluttering up. Thank you for sharing the show as well. And of course, we want to give the proper shout out to our live radio listeners on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. And we're going to be talking tonight a little high school football. We're going to be talking some NBA playoffs. We're going to be talking some Major League Baseball playoffs. We'll be talking, of course, a little bit about politics. Who do you guys think going to win the debate tonight? Is it going to be Biden or is it going to be the happy fellow, Mr. Donald Trump? And there's our shout out there from our producer. He's back on the scene behind the glass, Mr. Eli Smith, tremendous gospel announcer. He is on 9 a.m. to 12 noon every day with the exception of Wednesday on WIGO 1570. You also can check them out online at wigoam.com. So big shout out to him and appreciate all the stuff that he does behind the scenes to make sure that the broadcast is on and popping with you guys. Well, we're going to do this also. We're going to also allow you guys to jump in on the broadcast. We're going to, in fact, put the link where you guys can come on because we don't have a call-in system, but we do have a way that you guys can kind of come on in here. And let's pop on over to Periscope. And there's Mr. Dirty Chris saying, nice house. Yeah, we're in the lockdown living room. And we appreciate you appreciating us. Yeah, so we try to bring it to you live from on the scene. We're located just 20 miles about southeast away from downtown Atlanta, from the conundrum of sports, I like to call it. And like I said, again, we're going to bring you the good news in sports. That's one thing we try to do is bring you the good news stuff. High school football, college football. We want to get some opinions later on about the 8:30 hour, about what you guys thought about the very first week of SEC football over here down in the South where we are. Georgia fans had a little bit of angst at the beginning, but the Bulldogs came back big in the second half to win over the Arkansas Razorbacks. So again, we're going to do that. We're also going to pipe down here on Periscope. I see a lot of you guys joining in here, so I'm going to dial this volume down here so we don't have any kind of echo going on at the same time. You see I'm multitasking, my hands going here, hands going there. That's because I want to make sure that we recognize every single person. Now, we are going to be talking some basketball tonight. We're going to have Edwin from Hawks Beat join us here on the broadcast. He's going to talk to us about the Hawks. He's also going to talk to us about what's going on in the NBA playoffs. And we thank God for him. And we look forward to having him join us in just a little bit. And again, we appreciate all those of you who are watching us here on Periscope. Appreciate the hearts that are fluttering up there. And we thank you for joining us also on YouTube Live. All right, guys, here's my thoughts here. We're going to give a big shout out to the real Brandon on Periscope for joining us. Thank you so much for doing that. And again, we appreciate all those of you who are sharing the broadcast because this is an interactive show. So again, we want you guys to be involved. I'm going to pop up on the screen in just a second here, the link. And now here's what this link will do. This link will let you in to the lockdown living room, and you will have a choice. You can either be actually part of the broadcast in terms of being on the screen, or what a lot of people do, you can come on and just make your comments. Just, knock out the video section and just make your comments, and that'll be it. So I'm going to do it. First, I'm going to post it up on the screen here. Here's the link. Bam. There's a link right there. Hopefully you guys can see it. There it is on social media. So all you got to do is you can copy and paste this, and you will be a part of the live broadcast. And again, you have the option. You can do the video only, I should say the video and the audio, or you can do audio only. Because some people say, "Hey man, I'm not camera ready right now. I can't come on." So no problem. We love you. Like I said again, use the button where it says audio only. Just click your video. It says stop video. You can do that, and bam. You can come on and make your comments and ask the question, who you think will win tonight? Who you think is going to win tonight? Who will win, Biden or Trump? So that's the question we're going to put. That's going to be our first question of the day. Who will win a debate tonight? Trump or Biden? That's the question we're going to do first. We're going to get into sports, obviously. Like I said, again, we're waiting for our guest of the evening to join us in just a second. And that again will be Edwin from Hawkesbury. We're also going to have Brian Jones. Brian's a favorite of our broadcast. He's going to be joining us talking about the Braves as Major League Baseball starts their playoffs. That's right, playoffs. Yep, playoffs are starting in Major League Baseball. And before we go any further, we got to make sure to give the shout out and congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup again. It's amazing how a team based in the South, I think this is their second or third Stanley Cup. Big shout out to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And now I don't think he's watching. Maybe he might be. Mr. Tony Ressler, principal owner of the Hawks, and his lovely wife, Jamie Ertz. Please, guys, get together with some folks and let's bring hockey back to Atlanta. The Atlanta had the Thrashers here, and they were pretty cool. I don't know if you guys have ever watched hockey live. It's really much better in person than it is on television. Lots of rock and sock 'em action. These guys are going at it. They're great skaters. So that's my question. I mean, actually, not my question. That's my petition to Mr. Tony Ressler, his lovely wife, Jamie Gertz, all the people that are involved with the Hawks management group. Come on, guys. Get us a hockey franchise here. We could use hockey down south. Look at Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, Carolina Hurricanes. I think they won a Stanley Cup not too long ago. I know they've been competitive in the playoffs for years. So Southern hockey can make it. Florida Panthers, you remember them? They won a Stanley Cup. So come on, Atlanta Hawks owners, bring back hockey to us, please, please, please. All right. Okay, here's our question. First question of the evening. We're about to pop it up on the screen. It's got nothing to do with sports, but I know that, again, a lot of you guys are watching it right now. And the question is, who will win the debate? Will it be Trump or will it be Biden? Who's going to win? Who do you think? You can call into the show, and I popped it up right on the screen. You guys can see it there. StreamYard. Let's put it right back up as you guys can see it. There it is. That's the link. Copy and paste the link, and we'll bring you on the show. The only thing I ask you is if you are going to come on and do the video aspect, put your phone in the horizontal mode, get some light. But otherwise, like I said, just use the audio only, and you guys will be on like a phone call. So we can bring you on, bring your comments on to the live broadcast. We'd love to have you guys jump into us and get your thoughts out here. So here it is on the chat. Who will win the debate tonight? Will it be Trump or will it be Biden? What do you think, boys and girls? Let me know. Again, go ahead and answer. We're ready to take your calls and take your video live chat right now. So again, who will win tonight's debate? That's our first question of the evening, Trump or Biden. I'm going to tell you myself really quickly. I'm going to get off of this because, again, this is a sports show, not a political show. Is it just me, or does like the Democrats like every year seem to run out like a sorry candidate? I mean, 3-4 years ago, Joe Biden, like if he came out like in the previous election, I think he would have kind of laid it to Trump. The old fiery Joe, from the Northeast, he might have taken it to him. But this Joe, again, because listen, you age, he look a little sluggish. He looks like kind of, sometimes sleepy time Joe. Now, I don't know what he's doing tonight. We're going to try to get the debates on so you guys can take a look. But that's my question. Who you think will win tonight's debate? Will it be Biden? Will it be Trump? Let me know. I'm going to pop the link right back up here again so you guys can see it. And what you do, when you get this link, here's what you do. You have to just go in and just copy and paste, and we'll bring you on the show. And what you can do is, if you don't want to be seen, you just click off the camera and just have the mic only, and we will hear you just like a phone call. Okay, so again, guys, let me know who you think will win the debate tonight. Will it be the Trump Meister or will it be bad Joe Biden? Let me know what you think in the comment section. All right, guys, it has been, like I said, a weekend full of fresh sports. We have all kinds of things that have gone on here. We had high school football here in Georgia. You guys know we normally cover high school football. We are the featured live stream partner for Clayton County High School, and we've been off for 2 weeks because, unfortunately, one of the schools had a breach in the COVID protocol, and so we had the last 2 games played in our stadium, which we cover, which is Tara Stadium. It was actually, those games were postponed, and one was actually canceled. So, again, big shout out to Clayton County for staying on top of the protocol, making sure that the young people are safe. With the way it works, I guess if more than one student actually tests positive, then they actually put them into the protocol and the games are then canceled. Well, there were some games that were canceled, and that was Major League Baseball. They said, first, we're going to have 140 games. Then they said, we're going to have 100 games. Then they said, we're going to have 80 games. They just said, the heck with it. Let's just have a sprint. We're going to have 60 games. And so as you would figure, 60 games is over, and it's playoff time now. And so we're going to bring to the screen and to the audio the man who follows the Braves and also pop culture, the one and only Brian Jones is in the building. Brian, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back on. A pleasure to be here.
Oh, Brian, it is 60 games went by like real quick. Like we're playoff season now. Boom, we're here. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I had to hand it to Major League Baseball. They were able to pull it off considering the outbreak they had with the Marlins and the Cardinals. The Cardinals actually ended up only playing 58 games instead of 60, but they were still able to make it to the postseason as finishing second place in the NL Central. But as I said, Major League Baseball was able to pull it off considering everything that happened with the Marlins and the Cardinals. Commissioner Rob Manfred was a little bit nervous about possibly postponing the season once it started. But for the most part, every team was able to play 60 games. They play nearly every day. There weren't too many days off. When it comes to double headers, they played 7 innings instead of 9. And I think the teams that were projected to finish, whether it's first or whether it's a wild card, when it comes to a 162 game season, they're all back in the playoffs. So overall, it was a success for Major League Baseball. Now, of course, they still have to finish the postseason, and right now it's the first round. It's the best of 3 series. 4 games are being played today, and then 8 games are being played tomorrow, and 8 games possibly Thursday, depending on how everything goes the next 2 days. So they still have to get through the postseason, but Major League Baseball was able to pull off an entire season in the middle of a pandemic. So hats off to them.
Yeah, it's incredible. They have done it. And, especially here in Atlanta, it does appear that, people are really energized about seeing the Bravos and seeing what they're going to do here in postseason. They appear to be one of the most potent offensive teams in Major League Baseball. So certainly odds are in the favor that the Braves might be able to do something they haven't done in 25 years, come home with a World Series title.
They definitely have the offensive weapons to make a deep playoff run. I think what's going to be interesting to see what happens with this team is their starting rotation. Max Fried will go tomorrow. The game for tomorrow starts at noon, but Max Fried will get his first postseason start. Then it will probably be Ian Anderson, and then if they need him, Kyle Wright will get the start for Game 3. But offensively, they can hang with anybody, and I think they've scored. No other team has scored more runs than the Braves. It looks like Freddie Freeman will win the MVP award this year. Marcell Ozuna led the National League in home runs and RBIs. So you had these guys who they have this experience playing with each other, and you add in a guy like Marcell Ozuna to help protect Freddie Freeman. That has really helped the Braves. And we've seen it over the years. This offense has been able to score runs when they need to, especially late in the innings. And you saw it again this year. So it's just, I think Braves fans are happy to see the development and the improvement of this offense over the last few years, whether it's Ron Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, Dansby Swanson. Then you got guys like Adam Duvall and, as I mentioned, Ozuna. So if the starting pitching can hold up, and they're facing a Reds team that's not very great offensively, but they can hit home runs. So again, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this starting rotation is able to go up against this Reds offense. As for the Braves offense, they're going for game one. They're going up against Trevor Bauer, who's likely going to win the Cy Young. So they're going to have their hands full, but they're going to, as long as they're able to chip away at for that start, I think they have a chance to win that first game and win, eventually go on to win the series.
And if I'm understanding correctly, the way this is set up, opening round, Braves being the kind of the higher seed, all three games are going to be played here in Atlanta. Is that correct?
Yeah, the higher seed teams in the playoffs for these first round matchups, all the games are going to be at home. And then after that, then that's when these teams travel to neutral sites. So this is just all about limiting travel. This is something that Major League Baseball wanted to do in order to just just prevent the spread of COVID-19. There's not going to be any fans for any of these games, but they're looking at having fans for the National League Championship Series and the World Series. So this is going to be a very quick first round of the postseason. Then once they get into the divisional round and the National League League Championship Series, it will be a little bit longer. Divisional round will be the best of 5, and then for the League Championship and the World Series, will be the best of 7.
Like I said, it should be very interesting. This whole idea, which is kind of weird to me, that they're playing the Championship Series games in the opposing league stadium. I'm still kind of trying to wrap my ears around that. I'm not quite sure what the thinking is. But at the end of the day, the fact that the Braves are able to open up and have 3 games in their home park, I would think it would be a no-brainer they'd be able to advance and move on to the next round of the playoffs.
Yeah, they were 19-11 at Truist Park this year. I think they had the second or third best home record in the National League. So they played well at home. Now, without any fans, you're not sure if there's really a home field advantage. But at the same time, I think the Braves are comfortable playing at home. I think they like playing at Truist Park, and I think having all 3 games at home will benefit them. And it's interesting because many experts are picking the Reds to win this series just simply because of the Braves starting rotation. I think their starting rotation will be fine. I think Max Fried, if he's healthy, he was dealing with a couple minor injuries, but he should be ready to go. If he's healthy, he should be able to slow down this Reds offense. And I think Ian Anderson and Kyle Wright have a chance to do some pretty special things in the series. So I think the Braves were able to. I think the Braves will win the series because they are playing at home. You don't have to worry about travel or anything to that nature. But it should be an interesting series nonetheless.
Well, no doubt. I think it's going to be something where the Braves come out. I think they're going to do a lot of offensive damage early on. And the other thing, too, in a short series, you can bring all your starters on and just not worry about the bullpen. So I really favor the Braves to kind of, take this series and move on. Now, I got to ask you a question, Brian. We put it up earlier today, so I'm going to put it up one more time here before you go. It's a big showdown going on right now. There is a heavyweight battle, and the champion will be the president of the United States. So the big question is will the winner be tonight the devilish Donald Trump or sometimes slow-moving Joe Biden? That's the question. Who's your favorite? I shouldn't say who's your favorite. Who's your pick? Let me put it that way. Who's your pick?
Yeah, who's my pick?
Right.
I think, I think I'm kind of leaning towards Joe Biden. I really don't have a clear-cut reason why. I just think now Trump is a guy that knows how to talk his way out of things, but I think based on everything that's surrounding him, when it comes to the taxes, when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic, how he's handled it, I think Biden will find a way to attack that. And Trump will get his shots in as well, but I think when it's all said and done, I think Biden will win the debate, and we'll see what happens on Election Day.
I'm just saying. All right, we'll give it a shot here, and we'll see tonight. Like I said, at some point I'm gonna try to get the broadcast in here so you guys can take a look at it. But one thing we got to do, always that we do before any of our guests leave is you need to tell people how they can find you and find out more about you and follow you, of course, on social media. Sir, the platform is yours.
All right. Well, I'm the trending sports writer for popculture.com. You can find all my work at popculture.com/sports. Tomorrow I'll have a how to watch post in the NBA finals. Probably talk about some baseball and football as well, and some other cool stuff on the way. So be sure to check that out. And for any trending or entertainment news, you can check out popculture.com. We'll definitely have a lot on debate tonight, and then any celebrity news, and we'll definitely have that covered. And you can also find me on Twitter. That's at Brian Jones_PC. And I'm also the host of my own podcast called Always Football Season. I'll have a new episode out in the next couple of days. You can find out wherever you get your podcast. And we also have a Facebook page for that. That is facebook.com/Always Football Season.
Doggone it, Brian. You like everywhere, bro. That's why I like you. Well, hey, man, we appreciate you joining us as always, and we look forward to having you back on real soon.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, sir. That's Brian Jones in the building. Well, we're going to shift gears now, talk a little basketball. We'll take a little break here. For those of you who are listening to us also on WIGO 1570 and on WIGOAM.com. Don't go nowhere because we have more coming up here on the Real Talk Sports Show. Keep it locked right now.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
realtalksports.net. And we're going to shift and get into a little basketball. Now, they've been playing in the bubble, but that doesn't mean you can't get the best in basketball coverage, especially if you're an Atlanta Hawks fans. This guy right here has a tremendous now audio, video, podcast. He's doing it all. Covers the Hawks, and he got the best name in town. Hawks Beat, the man himself, E-Dub, is in the building. What's going on, sir?
My guy, Jonathan. How you doing, brother?
Hey, man, I'm good and happy to be alive and well. Praise the Lord, man. Hey, so it's been a minute since you've been on the show. Thank you. Take some time out. I know you're a busy man, got a lot going on. So let's get right to it. First of all, Hawks camp is open. Am I understanding, man? They got the summer camp and everything's on and popping right now, right?
Yeah, man. They actually started their own little mini bubble here in Atlanta, kind of an off-season training camp, if you will.
Okay.
It's been kind of weird because, like, NBA season is still going on. Like, we have the finals. COVID has really knocked everything that far off balance. But, yeah, the guys are getting in some work, so it's kind of a little light mini camp.
So good stuff here. The other thing I understand that they actually are going to let us have some real contact with the players as far as through Zoom. So we'll be able to actually talk to Coach Pierce. I know he's been on some of the other players. Have you been able to tap into any of those? And if so, what's been kind of the mood or the vibe as they start this kind of own summer bubble camp?
Yeah, so the Hawks have made the players available all this week. And we've talked to Trey, we've talked to John, we've talked to Clint, Coach, Travis, who else? Scal Labissiere. They had Kevin Huerter was yesterday. So the vibe that we're getting is the guys are really just coming together, becoming a team, right? So they're working on a lot of camaraderie, and they're just really getting to know each other. A lot of them have talked about just being in the bubble and just getting to know each other off the court. And, they're not pushing them too hard, man. It's still off season. We still got a long way to go before the regular season gets here. So it's just kind of knocking the cobwebs off, getting them a little light run, and seeing what we have for next year.
How important is that for these guys to kind of do something like that? Again, we know the playoffs are going on. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But for them to kind of get back in the groove of playing again against your teammates, but basically playing some competitive basketball.
Yes, it was real big. I mean, even Trey was like, the first day. Of course, there's a lot of cobwebs. You're playing with guys you haven't played with in a while. Everybody's been doing their own individual thing. And I mean, you know how sports is. You don't just throw a team together and have all of the pieces working. It's not NBA 2K. So, I mean, this is the first time John and Clint have played together. This is the first time Trey and Clint and all of these different lineups have really played together. So this is just kind of getting a head start on everything and seeing hopefully what it will look like next year.
Speaking of Clint Capella, we know that he was injured through most of last year. Really never got a chance to see him on the court. Completely healthy now, almost there, 90%. What's the feedback on him?
So we talked to Clint, I think it was what is this? In COVID, my days run together. So, it was either earlier this week, I believe, and he's 100% ready to go, man. He's no holdbacks. The coaching staff hasn't really pushed these guys a lot. Again, the NBA season is still going, so you don't want to run your guys into a ditch before they actually get going. You just kind of want to run them a little bit, get them a little lathered up, let them build a little off-court camaraderie, and kind of see what we got here. So from all intents and purposes, he's ready to go, and he hasn't had any setbacks.
Now, when you look at this edition of Clint Capella, a lot of people thinking, I'm not going to say a championship team, but certainly another key peg into making the Hawks a competitive team in the East and maybe one that can challenge for a playoff berth. Is that kind of overhyping the situation, or can he make that kind of impact on his team?
No, not at all. I mean, we talked to Kevin Huerter yesterday, and someone posed that same question to him. He was like, look, man, he was like, no disrespect to the Orlando Magic, but we feel like we are just as good as them, and they were kind of the benchmark, right? Because they're the 8th seed in the playoffs last year. And the talk around the Atlanta Hawks, the talk around training camp, from Lloyd Pierce on down, the goal is the playoffs. The expectation is the playoffs next year. Knock on wood, everyone stays healthy, but that is the expectation for next year. You have a good core in place, and I believe competitively they can be a playoff team, probably a lower tier, maybe 8th seed, 7th seed, maybe 6th seed in the East, but I think they're definitely capable of being that, hoping everybody stays healthy.
Yeah, so when you look at this team, the other thing that everybody kind of speaks about is the Hawks getting tougher and getting a little bit sharper on defense. Again, we're circling back to Clint Capella. That's kind of what he was known for. How much is he going to rub off as far as his way of going about his business to affect this Hawks team, you think?
Well, you hope that it transfers over a little bit, right? Because, they brought him in because they know what they have on the defensive perimeter. They know that Trey and Kevin are defensive liabilities. There's
soft
no
too
ifs, ands, or about it. Right. Yeah. And so what you're doing is you're not sending Trey or Kevin off anytime soon. So you go ahead and get a guy that can kind of help and make up for those deficiencies. So, you hope that he's going to make John a better defender. You hope that he's going to make Cam a better defender. That's why you brought him here, mainly for his defense and for his rebounding. I think offensively it's going to take care of itself. I still think that the Hawks need to add a shooter or two. I think they need to add a defensive specialist, like a defensive guy, to go along with a Clint Capella. We talk about the glory days, right? Especially if you're a Hawks fan, we talk about the 60-win team, and you and I have had conversations about this. That team was at its best when they were good defensively. Right. Tabo Stuffalosha, Damari Carroll, Al Horford, those guys were defensive dogs. And there's no, you don't take shortcuts to that. You have to be, and you have to have a presence defensively, as we're seeing with the Miami Heat.
Well, one of the things that we look when we go to a break and we're going to bring you back on, one of the things that when the Hawks were at their best is what they did to kind of neutralize the fact that they weren't the biggest team is they have very active hands. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about that. You listen to the Real Talk Sports Show. We're coming back to social media, guys, so don't go anywhere. We're going to answer your comments and questions in just a moment. Keep it locked right here for more, because we'll be right back in just a moment.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
We appreciate those gentlemen for stopping by and joining us here. That everybody asked me, okay, where did you see all those guys at? Most of that was at the Blue Carpet event when the Mercedes-Benz, I should say the stadium at Mercedes-Benz hosted the College Football Championship. We were on the ESPN Blue Carpet, and we had a great chance to meet up with a lot of those guys, and so we're very thankful for that. Let's go to social media and see what is cooking there on social media, see if we have any comments. And, yep, we got a comment here from a pastor, Pastor Daniel Fagan, has a wonderful church here in Clayton County, Fresh Bread Ministries. This is his question. They said the Hawks need a defensive-minded guard and outside shooter. So it looks like, man, he's right on with you, bro. It's like, did you feed him that? Did you feed him that line, bro? What happened there?
No, I didn't feed him that line, man. But shout out to the pastor, man. Shout out to him. Hey, man, and while we're talking about guards, one big deficiency that we had last year with the Hawks was the inability to get Trae Young any rest. Right. I am somewhat of a metrics guy. I think metrics have their place. However, one thing we did see last year was when Trae went out of the game, oh my gosh, the numbers were outstanding. A free agent guy that I've been talking about a lot who's going to be available this summer is DJ Augustine. I think he will be a good veteran presence.
Former Texas Longhorn.
Yeah. So you can run him with Trae. You can run him. He can run the show by himself. I think he would be a great addition to this Hawks team. And the Hawks got they got a lot of money, brother. They got a lot of money. I'm thinking about going down there and seeing if I can get me a little 10-day or something, man.
Hey, man, they definitely have stockpiled money and stockpiled draft picks and have a lot of great young talent. Speaking of young talent, we keep talking about the whole defensive thing here. Are we neglecting our own homegrown Cam Reddish, who seemed like he came on strong defensively in the second half of last year?
Nah, Cam's going to get his due. I think that Lloyd was bringing him along slowly. We got to remember, man, for all intents and purposes, this was a college sophomore last year. I think a lot was heaped on him because of the roster. He was forced to start in some games where he just wasn't ready. And there's no shame to him not being ready because it's tough being a rookie in this league. But, I mean, we did see the gains toward the end of last year. We're looking for a good, solid year for him this year. The expectations are up there, man. So I like the kid. He's very soft-spoken, very talented, though. He could be a really big player for them this year for what they want to do.
No doubt. And again, more echoes and kudos from Pastor Fagan. He's saying, yeah, DJ Augustine would be a good fit. Yeah, man. See, Augustine, man, I watched him in the NCAAs with the Longhorns. The guy was a grinder. He's been a grinder since he's been in the league. Can he shoot? Absolutely. But he's like kind of old school. Gets right in your face, not afraid to come right at you. And the same thing when he has the ball, a guy that will kind of push the ball directly at the goal. So, yeah, he'd be a good fit. Whether the Hawks will pick him up or not, who knows? But certainly some great potential there. All right, let's shift now to what's happening in the bubble. NBA, we're down to 2.
Yes, sir.
Heat versus Lakers. Who do you like in that matchup and why?
Man, to be completely honest with you, John, and you know how I do. I don't just come out and say A or B. I have to overanalyze things and I have to look at situations. And I tell folks all the time, man, like I'm not new to this, man. Like I've been doing this for a while. And so I look at this and I still, if you put a gun to my head and I got to make a decision right now, I would say Lakers in 7. However, I believe people aren't giving the Miami Heat enough respect, right? Because and I'm gonna lay out my thing because I was actually doing notes, man. Before how I take copious notes.
Yes, you do. I was
breaking down the finals. You look at it from a coaching standpoint. I think the Miami Heat have the better coach. I think Spoelstra is a better coach than Vogel. I think they're a better defensive team. I think they have better shooters. Because if you look at the totality of how we're looking at things, and we're trying to look at this thing objectively, not just, oh, LeBron's here, we got to go with them. I'm trying to look at it objectively. LeBron is a type of player, and this is not a shot on LeBron. He is a type of player that needs the whole cog to be working for everything to come out successful. There's nothing wrong with that. Jordan was like that. Here's the difference. When Jordan was in the finals, he can count on John Paxson. He could count Steve Kerr. He knew Horace Grant was going to be at the top of the key. He knew Scottie was going to be ready. Everybody like that. With LeBron, how much faith do you have in Danny Green? How much faith do you have in Caldwell Pope? So if you look at Caldwell Pope and Danny Green knocking down shots versus Tyler Hero and all those guys in Miami, now it starts to look a little bit different now, right? And so I say my heart of hearts, I'm always going to lean on LeBron because he's that dog. He's that dog. I'm always going to give him the credit, and I'm always going to pick them. And right now I have LA in 7, and that may change. But I think we need to really give Miami some credit here.
Well, again, Pastor Fagan, we done got him fired up. He's saying go Lakers. But he is admitting though that the Heat are a complete all around team. And one thing that the Heat have, which you can never really count out, is that when you got an alpha dog, that's a dirty dog. Now,
Yes.
I say dirty, not let me wrong. I'm not talking about dirty in terms of doing something illegal or any type of improper play. But I'm saying anytime you have a guy in an interview with a beautiful young woman. I watched Jimmy Butler was interviewed with one of the rising stars, Taylor Rooks. She was on the
Shout out to
Sports
Taylor
Network in
Rooks.
New York, and now she's on and popping, doing all kinds of stuff across the nation. So
Does an amazing job.
right. So what she asked Jimmy the question. Jimmy said, "Look, let me explain something to you." He said, "I don't care if anybody likes me." He said, "Really, it's just I'm not here for that." He said, "I'm not." He said, "I know a lot of people don't like me." He said, "They'll be all right." He said, "I'll get over it." He said,
I
"But
love it.
I'm trying to win." And see that's and this as a aside, that's what's wrong really here in Atlanta.
I love it.
Because here in Atlanta, because I tell people we are still suffering from the effects of basically two guys, David Justice and Michael Vick. Those two guys, I don't want to make this a racial thing, but those two guys basically were. let me see if I can phrase this right. They was brothers. They was black men.
Yeah.
And so when I say that to say this, not in a derogatory term or not to again create any kind of racial strife. What I meant by that is they had a swagger to them that you couldn't put that fire out. I mean, David Justice basically tell you, I'm gonna take your heart out here, man, because when I get up here, at some point you got to throw me a pitch, I'm gonna hit. Yeah, I'm gonna get that clutch hit. Michael Vick was a guy that told you, I got a video game named after me called the Michael Vick Experience. I have a whole thing here. Think about this. Mike in his prime got a pair of Nike cleats that had mirrors on the sole. When they asked him why, he said so that people could see them missing him on the tackles. Come on.
Hey, man, I love Jimmy Butler. I'm the hugest Jimmy Butler fan. And I don't think that Miami is more talented, but I think they match up really good. Who traditionally has given LeBron problems over the years? Andre Iguodala, he's on that squad. Jimmy Butler, we know that he plays LeBron hard. And I'm not saying LeBron's going to have a bad series, but I'm saying we need to, and a lot of these prognosticators and a lot of these people on the ESPNs, they're just going to say, oh, Lakers winning 4, 5, and 6 or whatever, because that's the easy thing. But if you really look at it, man, Miami has more than a puncher's chance to win this finals.
Oh, there's no doubt, man. I mean, they are a team. Like I said again, when you have a nasty alpha dog like Jimmy Butler, a guy who basically is fearless, then you always have that shot. Let's go back to social media. Like I said again, we got the pastor all fired up. I can't imagine what he's going to do Wednesday night in his service. Anyway, yeah. So he said the Heat are a deep team, which is true, and he points out what we're talking about, that Miami plays mad. They play with a chip on their shoulder. Anytime you have teams or players playing with a chip on their shoulder, you never know what they're going to bring to the table. And last but not least, he agrees with me saying that Atlanta ain't nasty enough. And again,
they need a dog, man. You and I have been saying this for years. They need a dog. Just bring one dog in the building.
Look, I'm going all the way back to when the previous incarnation, when they had Coach Woodson here. And a lot of people didn't like him because he was a hard-nosed guy. I think to some degree he overcooked the hard-nosed defense. I don't want to play young people before the time, because to me, he really kind of stunted Jeff Teague's game, because Teague, a lot of people don't remember, but Teague came out of, I think I want to say was it Wake Forest?
Wake Forest. I
Right.
was covering the team that time.
Right. So, you know, if you look at the early highlights of him coming out of Wake Forest, this is a guy that was dunking the ball. This is a guy that was taking people to the hole. This was a guy that had an aggressive play. And I think that really Woodson's constant kind of leaning on him about the defense, not playing him at all, really, to me, I don't think he ever really became the player he could have been here in Atlanta. But on that Woodson staff, he had a guy by the name of Gar Hurd. And Gar Hurd was a tough-nosed defensive player back in the 70s and 80s. And he said to me, he said, listen, the problem is with this team, and I heard it again from Kevin Willis, who played in the 90s, and even from Dominique, off the record, all these guys, right, they all said the same thing. The team doesn't have the and they don't like to get dirty. They don't like to bang it up in the boards. And because of that, they don't play that type of in-your-face defense. And when you don't do that, it's hard for you, especially playing in the Eastern Division, to consistently win, because the East Coast basketball is different.
Yeah.
A little different, a little bit more physical. It requires a lot more half-court play. And the Hawks, even in their 60-win season, now, again, you can't discount injuries, but eventually that was their undoing, because they just could not play that type of game, which, as you know, you got to play that in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it was more – you and I know the subtle nuances of the game, you know, because we look at the game differently from the average fan. And it was never more evident than last year when Trae Young tried to nutmeg Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza put Trae on his back.
Right.
Not one player from the Atlanta Hawks put Trevor into the stands, and that's what they should have done. That let me use the correct English. That's what should have happened. You don't let nobody put hands on your star player like that. You don't do that, man. You don't do that. And again, you just need a dog, man. You need a dog that's gonna come in there and say, I don't care if you throw me out the game. What you're not gonna do is put your hands on my star player.
Look, now I know everybody's going to be thinking to themselves, now listen to the preacher. He had another preacher on. They all talking rough, being nasty, advocating violence. Here's what helped me out, okay? So I had the great privilege to interview, he came into the studio, one of the legendary NFL enforcers, one of the great power forwards, guy oftentimes doesn't get his due, played for years with the Milwaukee Bucks, later played with San Antonio Spurs, Terry Cummings.
Okay, yeah.
And now keep in mind, in his last probably about 5 to 10 years of his career, he was an ordained minister. And matter of fact, he pastors here in Decatur. And I asked him, I said, you know, I'm just going to ask you, you know, brother to brother, preacher to preacher, how did you go about your business? And he said, I had no problem at all. He said, because I had a job to do. And he said, my job was to make sure that players on both teams, but especially players on the other side, understood the rules of engagement. And if in fact those rules were broken, it was my job to make sure that they didn't get broken again. And I said, oh, okay. So basically, it's the same. The concept is he understood that, hey, you know, there are times where you have to kind of make your presence felt. Okay, again, we're going back to social media. Pastor Fagan saying, yep, Tree Rollins, Kevin Willis, some of the other guys. You can go all the way back even to the 70s, the late, great Dan Roundfield. All those guys, they would have, I mean, again, we're not, and please, folks, I know people watching this, I don't want you to flip out and trip and thinking that we're asking players to get involved in physical violence or altercation. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that there has to be some level of physicality, some way to kind of, for lack of a better term, stake out your spot, your space. That has to be done, and that can only be done when you have somebody that's willing to do it. And the Hawks, up to this point, haven't been able to do it, but maybe Clint Capella might be that answer.
Yeah, and I think that when we talk about this, it's more of a mentality. It's more of a presence of how you carry yourself than it is anything else, you know? And I just think that when you have that presence, there's a different respect that you carry from other teams, even when you only have one or two guys on that squad who's just the guy, you know? And I think the Hawks got a lot of nice guys. They got a lot of guys that are very athletic. And I would just love to see a kind of an old, and I'll give you this one caveat to kind of to throw a bone to these new players. These new players, they have to play within the realm of today's game. today's game isn't reffed like it was in the 90s and in the 80s.
Right.
They don't let them get away with half the stuff. The fouls that they're called nowadays are just like, oh my gosh. And now, because of the malice in the palace, because of things, nobody wants anything to get out of control. So these players are growing up in a culture that will not allow them to be those guys in the 90s and in the 80s and back then. So we can't put it all on this new generational type of player because they're playing within the confines of what the NBA referees are allowing. And nowadays, the referees just don't allow for much of any of that stuff.
Not as much strong arm activity maybe as others. Yeah, and listen, I understand. And again, it's I've always told people the one thing I try to avoid that I don't want to sound like the old man. Like when we were kids, we always had a guy in the barbershop. The guy was always mad. I don't care what the situation was, any topic, it was always better in his day. He was always mad. This generation was whatever name you could say, soft, sorry, can't do it. So I don't want to be that guy. I mean, I definitely am not going to be that. But at the end of the day, for the Hawks to get to the next level, and as we discussed earlier, hopefully Clint Capella can bring some of that energy. They're going to have to get in the position where they play some defense, and also going to need to be able to control the boards, because this is a team that I think if they can get out and run, get out and hit and be able to take open shots in space, they can be a very dangerous team.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, taking us back to the Lakers and to the Miami Heat are a very physical team. And I think of physicality when you think of a guy like Bam Adebayo, who is very physical. Now, let's go back to when the Lakers played Houston. Do you remember that game one when your boy Tucker for Houston? He was strong arming Anthony Davis. And so it's going to be interesting to see how a guy who is much taller and much stronger than a Tucker deals with an Anthony Davis. Now, Anthony Davis is a tremendous talent, but one thing we know, he's made of paper mache. I mean, if it's not a rolled ankle, if it's not a pinky, he's always saying like there's always something with him. And I love AD, but I'm gonna call it like I see it. There's a lot of times that you're like, oh man, he's hurt again. You know what I'm saying? So if you get a guy who has the physicality of a Tucker in Houston, and who's going to be coming at him much harder than Tucker was. Tucker just got worn down because he realized, look, AD's 6'10", and I can't do nothing with him. Right. That is going to be an interesting dynamic, the AD versus the Bam Adebayo matchup.
Well, I like the unibrow to handle his business. I think he sniffed that this is a chance for him to, become part of legend. Most people have told me there's going to be no asterisks next to the season. So if you're the NBA champ, you're the NBA champ. So I look forward to seeing the big stuff that he's going to do. And I think it's going to be a great one. Like I said, because I think that Jimmy Butler, I think that the Miami coach, he's been here, done that. So I think that those two guys are going to make sure that this team does not fold. And even the old man, oh my gosh, he's been with the Heat his whole entire life. They were showing him.
Who has one? You did?
Yeah. 40 years old, like, look, we're going to get this. So it's going to be very, very exciting to see. Well, speaking of get this, we want people to get how they can find out more about you, your blog, social media, and so forth. So once again, as we always do, the platform is yours.
Hey, man, you guys know how to find me, man. I'm all over the place. Let's see. I'm at Hawks Beat on Twitter. The website, the hub is thehawksbeat.com. I'm also doing a NFL podcast on another platform. It's called The Opening Drive. You can get that at the Game Time Radio Network, which we're doing the NFL too. So I'm all over the place, man. You can find me at, again, Hawks Beat on Twitter and GTR Radio 1100 on Twitter. We got Facebook pages, whatever platform that you're on, just search Hawks Beat and Game Time Radio Network, man, and you'll find me, man. You know I'm always broadcasting. I love to do it. I love chopping it up with you, my brother. I miss covering games with you, man. And we used to have some great times, man. I enjoy the invite. Keep doing your thing, my brother, man. It's been awesome.
Look, man, we always going to have you back on here to chop it up about Hawks and, just so many things that are going on in the world of basketball as well. Well, we got to get one more in. I know you done paid Pastor Fagan, so I'm going to go ahead and put him on here one more time. He said, yep, Udonis Haslem is a beast, an absolute beast. And
respect,
again, we like I said, man, it should be very, very interesting watching the Hawks next year. Hopefully and prayerfully we'll be fully out of the COVID situation we're in now, and we'll be able to see some basketball. Because I think this young team, if they can get some wind underneath their sails, get this crowd behind them, I think we might have something, bro.
Yeah, definitely, man. What we tapped into last year toward the end of the season, where guys started coming back. John came back off a suspension. We saw what we think Trae Young can be.
Right.
There's still a lot of growing and a lot of maturing that he has to do, that him and John have to do. And look, man, you got a whole new piece with Clint Capella. Nobody knows what that's going to look like. This isn't NBA 2K. You can't just plug them in. Coach Pierce doesn't know what it looks like. John doesn't know what it looks like. Nobody knows what it looks like. So we're going to have to see how that meshes and how that becomes part of the stew. And I'm a believer of Coach Pierce. I like Coach Pierce. I think he's straight up. I like the management of the Hawks, and it's been a joy covering the Hawks, and this will be year 6 for me. So it's been a pleasure covering them, and I look forward to another good season next year.
Well, I do too, man. And look forward again, like I said, getting together in person, doing some late game recaps, and just chopping up as we always do. Well, listen, we appreciate you, E. And until the next time, man, God bless, and we'll have you back again real soon.
More brother. Peace.
There is, guys. That's E Dub from the Hawks Beat, and we appreciate him for joining us here this evening on the Real Talk Sports Show. We're going to shift gears. It's football time in the state of Georgia, and of course, when we talk football, we do college, but man, we got to talk about them Falcons. So if y'all are ready, we're going to take a quick little break, and then we'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show, broadcasting on every platform we can: YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, which is Twitter TV, and WIGO 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. We'll be right back.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB.
All right, guys, we are back here. You listen to the Real Talk Sports Show. We broadcast to you again on every platform we can possibly think of. WIGO 1570 for our audio listeners. You also can check us out online at WIGOAM.com. And you also can find us on the TuneIn Radio app. We want to give a big shout out and kudos to our premier sponsor, Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln. They are located at 6790 Mount Zion Boulevard in the city of Morrow, Georgia. You can see across the ticker on the bottom for those of you who are watching. Again, they are a proud supporter also of high school football, which we are supposed to be back on the field Friday night. We had to take a 2-week sabbatical, so to speak, because of the fact that one of the schools had a problem with the COVID protocol. So we had no games to watch. Well, after Sunday, Falcons fans were thinking they don't want to have any more games to watch after another epic collapse. Of course, to talk to us about it, we have the embedded beat writer for AJC Sports, an award-winning beat writer. He's been covering the Falcons for some time, and he always gets that first question in the press conference. You know who he is, Esquire par excellence. The one and only D. Orlando Ledbetter is back in the building. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great, Reverend Simmons. Thanks for having me on Real Talk Sports once again.
I got to tell you something, D-Led. I had to really take a woosah moment. And, of course, I told everybody I'm wearing my official red, white, and blue tie because of the debates that are going on. And I said, I got to take the fan hat off here so I don't implode. Have you seen in your coverage of this team or professional football anything like what we've seen the last 2 weeks?
No, you haven't, Reverend. These 2 last weeks were ones for the record books. The one game in Dallas when you're up 15, you scored 39 points and have no turnovers. Going back to 1933 when they started collecting turnovers, 440 teams won their game. The record is now 440-1. On Sunday against the Bears, they're up 16 points with in the fourth quarter. They built up a lead, and then just the defense just collapsed. And inexplicably, the offense decides that they're not going to power down and run the ball. They're going to stay aggressive. Threw 5 out of 6 passes, didn't waste any time off the clock, 22 seconds, 55 seconds. Sent the defense back on the field. I was playing with 6 starters out by the time they're at the end of the game because they went into the game with 4 out. And then they lost Darquez Denard, who went on IR today. And then Grady Jarrett wasn't nowhere to be found. He got hurt too. So I'm like, you would want to protect that defense. So to continue to be aggressive in that regard, because you want to play that style of ball and that's your identity, that gets you beat. So it was kind of like, they kind of asked for it and they got it. And that was also another historic loss. There's never been two teams to blow 2 15-point leads in the fourth quarter ever. So, we've seen some history. At least they're making history.
Making history. That's correct. We're seeing history every week with the Falcons. It's I don't know. It's really very difficult to watch these guys and to stay enthused because it's almost like they just go out of their way to tease you with really 2 quarters. Because I really want to say 3 quarters. Really, they give you 2 quarters of really tip-top football, and then it all just seems to start to fritter away. It seems like as soon as the other team gets that first touchdown, it seems like the fear washed over that team and they tighten up. It's just incredible to watch.
Yeah, no question, Reverend. We're looking for answers. They're saying, hey, we got to finish. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm still don't, we got to finish. I think what they mean is, hey, we got to play a complete game. We got to put together 4 quarters of football. At some point, we stop playing, or it's because we're tired. I want to say fatigue. But they said, no, that's not it. We're in great shape. So then it's like, oh, are you just getting outclassed? So, I mean, I haven't, are you just getting beat up and you're losing? Because, you're okay. You're in the fight early, and then all of a sudden you get knocked out. And then you got the coaching mistakes. The Dallas game where they stand around and watch the ball, just makes no sense. Trying to throw the ball when Matt Ryan's already knocked woozy. He's knocked woozy. Akeem Hicks had hit him 5 times that game. So, Khalil Mack's coming off the edge. So, but you decide to put the ball in his hands instead of handing the ball off to Gurley, Hill. Could have put Allison in there. Could have gave it to Big Keith Smith. It doesn't add up to, it doesn't make good football sense to not only me, but, a lot of the fans that I'm hearing from via email and text and on Twitter and, Instagram, all over the place.
No doubt. Well, listen, as we know, we split our program broadcasting between radio and live broadcasting. For those of you here on the live stream video, don't go anywhere. Stay right here. But, of course, we have to sign off on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. Big thanks, first of all, to our kind of all-around guy, program director, station manager, and sales manager, Kevin Buchanan. The guy kind of like the glue that kind of holds our station together. And, of course, the producer of our show, Eli Smith, who also serves as one of the great gospel DJs in Metro Atlanta history. Been doing it for many, many years. You can catch his show, the Eli Smith Show, every morning, Monday through Friday, with the exception of Wednesdays, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon time. Check him out, and you will enjoy him greatly. All right, guys, you know what I'm going to tell you. Get to know the Lord real soon, because nobody loves you like mighty Jesus Christ. All right, everybody, WIGO, until next time, God bless you, and have a great evening. We are delayed in terms of looking at this Falcons team. It's just, you say to yourself, it's you don't even know where to point the finger because everybody's making mistakes. You pointed out the coaching errors between and the thing that makes it so egregious, I guess, with the Falcons is they took a timeout before the kick. So you're thinking, all right, they kind of figured out, hey, these guys are doing something squonky. Here's what you guys got to do. Remember, pounce on the ball early if you see it kind of wobbling around, because as you know, a ball on the ground, it's not going to travel hardly anywhere in the air. So you guys go ahead. As soon as you see that thing hit the ground, you go ahead and fall on it. Evidently, that's not what they were told. Instead, they would say, hey, let's play hot potato, including Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked to the special team coordinator last Thursday, Ben Kwawika, and it was pretty clear that they thought the ball wasn't going to go 10 yards. They didn't have a go signal to if it gets to 7, jump on it. You know,
Right.
I mean, you could have kicked it out of bounds. It was a lot.
Anything, slap it out of bounds. It's your ball.
And I talked to Coach Smith Friday night, just catching up with him, and I was like, "What do you do there?" He's like, "Well, the first line of blockers, the second line is recoverers. So the first line, we should have just went on and block the Cowboys who couldn't dive on the ball. Then you got them out of the way. Then you got two people, one to get it and one to help him out if it gets a little shaky. So that's something that should have been practiced. But clearly they were like, oh, it was a spinning ball, and those balls don't really go 10 yards, and so let's stand around and watch it, because if you touch it, then it's live. So I mean, to put the game on the line like that, when you're talking about being bold and aggressive in every other phase, leads a little bit, just a bad way to lose a football game. But that was just a bad one, Reverend. I don't know what else to say about that one.
No, nothing else you can't say. You look at this team, I guess a couple of questions. Todd Gurley, number one, has he looked good to you? He looks pretty good to us from what we've seen. And how do you think he's held up? Because they have ratcheted up his carries. Any feedback from him or the staff as far as the pitch count, so to speak, for him?
Yeah, they're doing pretty good with him. It's not 30. They split it up. Looks like it's right around 20. They tried to get him more in that first game. Didn't work out that good. But I mean, they were averaging 5.8 yards a carry against the Bears. So it makes no sense. Like, oh, they thought they were going to stop him. And then that's the whole thing. You got to be able to run the ball when they know you're going to run the ball, not play finesse football. They did that on the 2-yard line. They go 5 wide on the 2-yard line. So, you need to run power at some point in your life. And the Falcons, when they get a chance to run some power, they decide to go 5 wides. And, it's just some finesse football in my teachings.
Okay, so now we're looking at this team. Are they equipped to go what we see sometimes with what they call a jumbo backfield or jumbo set with multiple tight ends and a fullback? Is that something they can do, or they just don't have the personnel?
No, they could do it. They got Luke Stocker, who used to be an H-back in Tennessee and playing out of the fullback position. You got Keith Smith, fullback. You can go 2 fullbacks in the inverted wishbone and have Gurley back as a tailback. And, you saw Green Bay do it, pull the one guy over the other side. You got 2 fullbacks leading them up in the hole. So if you can't get nothing then man, that means you lost at 3 spots at the point of attack. So, it can be done.
Yeah, it just looks strange to me. I've always wondered why the Falcons don't run more of the 2 tight, even when they had guys like Levine Toledo here, why they didn't more consistently run that jumbo set, 2 tight ends, a fullback, especially since it appears that the Falcons constantly have guys in those positions who actually can catch the ball. So you could actually even throw out of that if you want to do some trickery.
Well, yeah, a couple years, Super Bowl year out in Oakland, they went double tights most of the game because they couldn't block Khalil Mack and the other end. I don't remember who that was. But they were playing that same 3-4 that the Bears run. They went double tights, so they had 2 people on those edges, and then they ran up underneath them. And then, they threw some stuff off of it. But that was under Kyle Shanahan. We haven't seen them use a lot of double tights here with Coach Cutter. And, they let their tight end get away. They traded for one, cut Luke Stockard in, brought him back. And they got Jaden Graham, a former undrafted player who's more of a pass-catching tight end on the roster.
Okay, so I'm looking at this team. You hit something here that's also been a sore spot on social media and other places. How would you analyze the play calling that you've seen from Dirk Cutter now that he's been back with the Falcons?
Yeah, I'm fine with Dirk's play calling. I don't understand not running the ball at the end of the game. I don't like 4th and 2, 5 wide. They stopped you on first down. It's like you got scared. Hey, let's switch it up and throw it, spread them out. So, you are looking for matchups and so forth. But you're playing with your 3rd and 4th and 5th wide receiver. So I can understand spreading it if it's Julio because, you can't stop Julio. But, the spread and the 5, just playing finesse football is more of my beef. Not sticking with the run. When he didn't stick with it against Seattle, it wasn't his fault because they got down so quick. So with the fake punt and all. But you see him get yards, but you don't see him get yards when they matter, when the game's on the line. So they got a bunch of yards to nowhere.
Yeah, that's really my one beef on this team. I mean, all these offensive statistics that pile up, what it does appear with this team is that the offense is good until they absolutely need to have a drive. And it seems like, especially in the second half, when they need that one drive to kind of break the momentum of the other team, they just can't seem to put it together. They get a 3 and out, or they'll get maybe one first down. And like you mentioned, the defense is back on the field. Again, I don't want to just continually ride Dirk Cutter and the play calling, but just some questions. The Falcons seem to run fewer screens, and that could be my fault. Maybe I'm not watching. They seem to run fewer screens than any other team. You hear any scuttlebutt from the coaches on why that's the case?
Not really. They threw one to Ito Smith, but Matt was so foggy by this point, he drilled the ball. Wasn't even a catchable screen. But under Dirk, it's been in the past just the opposite. He's a screen master. So I don't know if he's saving them for something, but coming from that Andy Reid, Lavelle Edwards, Don Coryell group, they love screens. That's they call it an extended handoff. So they've run them. They try to get one to Ito, but last year they threw that one to Kenyon Barner and he broke it loose in the exhibition season. The screen against Philly won the game to Julio, so it's definitely in their repertoire, but we just haven't seen it. And part of that might have been, Reverend, it takes time to get those screens right.
Okay.
And, rushing through the preseason and stuff, they might not have got them. Their screens have looked pretty bad so far, and I think over time they'll get better on those.
And the reason why I mention that, because it seemed like, and again, we understand we're not talking about the same Todd Gurley of 2017, but one of the things that made him such a devastating weapon for Los Angeles was they would roll him out on the screens and sometimes, the wheel route, but especially on those short passes and screens, man, a guy like that in open space, he was just a load.
Yeah, and the other route I'm waiting to see that I saw in Sean McVay's offense where he goes out to the side and breaks it back into the middle.
Right.
The linebacker's coming out to get him, and he slams it back inside. He's right in Matt Ryan's view. So, I haven't seen that yet. I want to see that play. But Dirk talked about him being a check down guy. So, that, that's no fun, being the hot receiver check down guy. But, so it's got to be some ways to get him the ball in space and not have to pound him through the line every time.
Yeah, when I look at this team and I look at the running group that they have, or you want to call it the running room, it appears that they have the personnel to have an effective running game. Brian Hill, have you seen an improvement from him year over year?
Yes, no question about it. And he had the very nifty 35-yard touchdown run in the Bears game where he got free and, pressed it right to the end zone. So the big place where he improved is with his pass catching. So, they're comfortable with him being in there and being able to throw him the ball periodically. I think he did have a drop this week, though. So,
yeah, key drop.
And so Brian, it's been a good change of pace for Todd. And like I said, they averaged 5.8 yards a carry together. Actually went over the 100. It was their best running game of the season against a pretty stout Bears front. So while you don't run it at the end, just seems, it seems mind-boggling. But we listened to Dirk try to explain it yesterday, and the way he explained it made sense. But it didn't make sense. Like, okay, you're going to lose the game if you don't hit any of these passes. So you're gambling on hitting these passes.
Yeah, it just seemed, like I said, it just seemed to make no sense to me. I mean, time is your friend. When you have a 2-touchdown lead, time is your friend. Now, I do understand that Matt Ryan, his DNA operates better when you have an up-tempo style of play. And I noticed that sometimes when they do kind of slow it down too much, it seems like he gets his rhythm kind of thrown off. But You've got to find a way to peel seconds and minutes off of that clock. For two reasons. Number one, less time you give the other team, the better. And number two, like you mentioned, the defense, it gives them a time to get a breather because this defense appears to be very small as far as NFL standards are concerned.
Yeah, it's a small and fast defense, so they're not going to knock anybody off the ball. They're just trying to run around and hit, But yeah, and back to that point, we're watching Green Bay against the Saints in the shootout Sunday night. They're up one score, and, they ran the ball. They ran the ball like 10 times in a row, and I'm like, who runs the ball with a lead? Who does that? People started, laughing on Twitter and so forth. I'm like, and they got Aaron Rodgers, same thing. He's up-tempo guy. He's going to throw it around the park. When it's time to ice the game, ice the game. It's real simple.
It just seems to me that they just are not using, what they have. Very few draw plays. As I mentioned earlier, screens. They're not utilizing the backs in the flat where, again, you got these big, fast running backs now. You got Hill. You have Gurley. Ito Smith is more of a scat back. And of course, the big bruiser out of Pittsburgh, again, he's your. That's the other thing. Short yardage. You mean to tell me you can't find a way to get one of those guys enough so that they can pick up a yard or two? I mean, we saw in the first game, Gurley powered over for that touchdown, so we know it's there. I'm baffled to why these guys are just not being used.
Yeah, and Quadri Olison was
right.
We were bringing him along in the short yardage situations. But I believe he only played 6 snaps on special teams against the Bears. He was inactive the first two games. I believe he had a hamstring injury that they were, wasn't bad enough to be on the injury report. But, first couple of weeks of training camp, he was running down the field on everything. Then all of a sudden, he's not 100% and not playing in the first games when, you seem like he'd be a guy you're going to take into the game with you. So, last year he was getting some action in short yardage, fourth down situation, goal line situations, and it seemed like they need that. So, you got to keep them drives going and so forth. But, what they've done a good job offensively of staying in the games for the most part. Didn't close no games, but they got back in the 14-0 game at Seattle, 14-12. Then it went sideways in the third quarter. Seattle went up 31-12. They scored a couple of garbage touchdowns to make it look good, 38-25. So, it's just not a cohesive football team that's playing, good. Coordinated football, offense, defense, and special teams. They be messing up on special teams. We saw the Bears start kicking the ball short because Brandon Powell is slow. He couldn't get it out to the 15. They just got he's got a slow guy back there. They got Zacchaeus. They got Ito Smith. They're not even trying to break something. They had to fumble punt. Had the mishap on the recovery on the onside kick, so the whole team is all, they gotta get it all together. Everybody's got to get it together,
No doubt about it. So let's go back to social media here. Good friend of the program, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner says, how much more time does Coach Quinn have as a head coach with the Falcons? That's been the burning question on social media for about the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's got 2 years left on his contract. So, Vince is not going to send Arthur Blank any money to pay the salary off. So, the owner wants to see him fulfill his contract. But, another slow start, 0-3, going to Green Bay, looking like 0-4. Carolina beat Minnesota last week, 0-5. I'm betting that if you get to 0-5, the owner's gonna have to admit he made a mistake last year. He tried to, pump the brakes, and he went for the continuity thing. And Coach Quinn is gonna have, to his advantage that hey, it was a pandemic. We didn't get to put in all the stuff we wanted to put in, and then he's gonna have the injuries. He's got 6 starters out last game. So, they're going to, but I don't know if the owner's going to see through that this time and make the move or just, write it up like, hey, this is just a, pandemic filled year. And because the team is paid like it's supposed to win. And so, what's going to really happen is they're going to open the gates to the fans and the fans are not going to come.
Right. Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to, I mean, let's face it. I mean, obviously we can see that it appears that to some degree the impact of the pandemic has slowed a little bit. So we thank God for that. But at the end of the day, you look around and you say to yourself, okay, as a fan, am I going to be willing to come there, take the time to travel, go to some place where technically speaking, I'm kind of put myself at risk to see a bad product? Well, the answer to that is no. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So Mr. Blank is also a man, I believe, a proud man. And I just don't think that he can tolerate too much of not so much them losing, but the way they're losing.
Yeah, that's a good point, Reverend Simmons. He was he was younger. He was a little bit more impatient with Coach Mike Smith, the winningest coach in Falcons history. 20 games over 500, 66-46. And I don't think enough uproar was made when he fired him. He finally had the franchise turned around. I'd have gave him whatever he wanted. Now, Quinn was a hot name. He'd never been a coach before. So Jim Moore never been a coach before. Smitty hadn't either been a head coach before either. But you can get somebody with a track record that knows what they're doing and not out there trying to play Madden. Hey, I'm just going to throw it up in the air and hope it, lands right. I'm going to throw it on 3 and 2. They're never going to get that. We're in the Super Bowl. No, get a coach who has solid coaching background and can put the team together, can put it together, offense, defense, special teams, and so you can go out and have a shot on Sundays. Dan Reeves was that coach. They didn't get along. He wasn't hired by Arthur, so they parted ways. He had quarterback Vic. He was going to groom him. That went sideways. Coach Moore didn't know what to do. He got into a championship game, so the talent must have been okay. But you knew he had issues, and you could have put something in place to help him stay back in place too. Then you go to Petrino, and we know how that ends. And so are we at the crossroads again? We are at the crossroads again, but the owner seems to be a little bit more patient than he was earlier during his tenure after buying the team in 2002. These Falcons right now are looking like the old Smith Falcons. And I know he knows it, being a fan who sat up in the stadium for years. When the Falcons would go in the game, didn't even have a chance. So for the better part of the Michael Vick era and the Matt Ryan era, the team you went to the games thinking, hey, they got a shot to win.
Right.
They're going to Green Bay on Sunday, and I don't think anybody thinks they got a shot to win.
But what's crazy, D-Led? That's the kind of game the Falcons will win. See, it's the kind of thing that they do. They win the games they're not supposed to win, and then the games they are supposed to win, they find a way to put them away. And Falcons, except for that one bad blowout in 2010 against the Packer team that went to the Super Bowl, they have played the Packers extremely well, both during the season and in postseason. So anything's possible. The thing that is against their favor, obviously, Rodgers has come back with a vengeance, with something to prove. And, of course, the head coach used to be our quarterback coach here in Atlanta.
Yes, no question about it. Matt LaFleur was on the, staff with Shanahan. And then when Shanahan left, they didn't keep him on the staff. He's the quarterback's coach. They went to Steve Sarkisian and then some college kid. That's out in Washington now. Bush Hamden, I believe, is the name. So Matt Ryan that wasn't good for Matt Ryan, and then Sarkisian had never called NFL plays, but was in tight with the Saban Quinn network. So they should have made him do real interviews and pick the best candidate. So maybe we can get to that in the NFL where we don't have all this nepotism and cliche hiring and get some real qualified coaches in there, through the process. So. That's part of the change that I'm watching with the NFL. I mean, I don't want to see quotas or nothing, but I want to see, interview the best candidates and pick the best one and let them coach and support them.
Yeah, because what we've seen a lot is, guys being hired because, don't be wrong, I'm not going to take anything away from when it came down between Quinn and Rex Ryan. I'm not going to take anything away from Rex Ryan because he got the Jets with basically what we saw later be a mediocre quarterback to back-to-back AFC title games, and really one of them should have won. So I don't want to discount him as his skill set, but people were talking about hiring him here, not because of that, but they were saying he was good with the press or because he was a funny guy. I mean, it's the same thing we see in politics right now. Oh, let me stop. I'm not going to get into politics. I'm not interested in hiring you because, I'm green and you're green, or you have long hair, I have long hair. I don't care about that. I want the best man for the job. Case closed, end of story. And you had a situation where they talked about continuity. I remember the whole shenanigans about, okay, well, we're going to put Sarkisian in, and he's going to call the plays from Shanahan. Well, okay, don't you think it would make sense to keep one of Shanahan's assistants if you're going to do that?
Yeah, and that looks like a terrible move in retrospect now that LaFleur, who, I questioned. I didn't think he was ready. His resume didn't say anything other than, he's a Notre Dame kid, well-spoken, polished guy, but hadn't been around, anybody, to say, oh, wow, he did a great job there. So I understood that. But yeah, and now in retrospect, now that he's gotten to Green Bay, put his staff together, and is winning, 13-3 last year. That looks like a really bad move, bad hire, especially Sarkisian couldn't stay here for 2 years. They had to get rid of him. Don't know why they got rid of Marquand and Keith at the same time, but didn't have to do that. And so just the whole 6 years have been a lot of roller coasters, a lot of bizarre decision making, a lot of bizarre drafting, bizarre hiring of the coaches. And, they're saying they want continuity, but they're basically not having continuity. So, we'll get to write all that one day, maybe soon.
Yeah, it's been real crazy. I mean, like you said, again, you look at LaFleur, and I you're right. I mean, you say, okay, the guy didn't have a lot of experience, but at the end of the day, even before he got a head coaching job in Green Bay, and I understand that Sean McVay had a lot of input in LA, but the bottom line is Matt went out there and was the OC under McVay, and they went to the Super Bowl. So clearly there's something about this guy that everybody else could see except the Falcons.
Well, yeah, no doubt. And but he was one of those early, guys that, if you went to Sean McVay, you got a job. The kid at Arizona, and of course all of the Fritz Pollard Alliance folks, who I've been working with for decades to publicize their good works. They were outraged because he didn't have any resume. But, I mean, that's how these owners look, and we've been going through that the last few hiring cycles. But, I mean, you look around the league, Bill Belichick's son, his defensive coordinator, probably Mike Zimmer's son is, I think, coaching with him. And, but that's what they do. They take care of their own people because, I mean, they're going to trust them over somebody they don't know. So, it's just the whole bizarre NFL hiring cycle and what it takes to impress the owners and general managers. Just been really bizarre over the, and I'm going all the way back. The first vacancy I covered was, the Cowboys in the 90s when they picked Chan Gailey over Sherman Lewis. Sherman was the OC for the Packers, and Gary Kubiak was the OC for the Denver Broncos.
Right.
Which one of them got an NFL job and which one of them didn't? Gary Kubiak, and Sherman's retired in Detroit right now. I hope he's still doing well. I need to check on him.
Well, a lot of these guys, and I'm glad you're going to do it. A lot of these guys, what happens is, even when I look at college, everybody talks about the hot guys that are coming out of college. Don't get me wrong. I understand that playing D1 football is different than, the football subdivision. But you look at a situation that what we saw right here at the Celebration Bowl with North Carolina A&T, where clearly this was a team that had become a dominant team playing at that level. And when they played Division I team, they gave them all they could handle. But yet I've never heard the coach's name ever even mentioned for a coordinator's job, let alone a head coach job.
Well, yeah, that goes back to and hopefully that's about to change with Deion being at Jackson State.
Right.
But Rudy Hubbard was Ohio State assistant, couldn't get a job in the Big Ten, end up at Florida A&M.
Yep.
For years, Willie Jeffries went. South Carolina State went out to Wichita State. Got into some NCAA situations, but then he comes back to Howard and SC State. So, the breakthroughs have been few and far between. It's like the white schools didn't know the HBC coaches existed, and so that has to change. They even have some good white coaches. Ed Perzicki at Delaware State, he won with John Taylor and them. I think Nick Polk, one of the Falcons exec, was on that staff. So football is football. If you can coach it at Delaware State, guess what? You can probably coach it at Delaware. So, maybe things are changing in the country, and hopefully they're going to change a lot on November the 3rd. And we might see some of them changes on the football field and in the coaching box also.
Well, no doubt, man. We look forward to, kind of seeing, guys being pushed forward. And, of course, normally I have on some of the ladies that come on. And as you know, I have she says she's just her, but she does a phenomenal job, has some experience doing some coaching, and is one of the assistant athletic directors right here at Atlanta Public School, talking about Candace Pritchett Mitchell. And so, and Candace, I know you might be watching, so take this the way I'm doing it here. So
doing a great job with the coach. Yeah.
Tremendous job. But my question is that it seems like the NFL is more concerned, and even some of these leagues are more concerned with bringing women in, which again, I'm not trying to take any shots. Because these women are capable, else they couldn't just do the job. But I'm like, you have all of these black men that are just it's like they're being bypassed. And these guys have got, long records of being great high school coaches, being great, college coaches at different levels. And it just seems that their name even in the conversation. And so that's the thing that hopefully, like you said again, will change, going forward. Well, we do know that there's a debate going on. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been watching and just peeked in. I saw some people peek in and peek out. So we appreciate those of you who have tuned in, especially you people who are watching now in the replay because you couldn't see us during the time of the debate. We thank you so much and appreciate you. And D-Led, as you know, when we go to wrap it up, we can't do it unless you tell people how they can find out more about you and follow you everywhere. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Reverend Simmons. Well, we, you can find us on Twitter at DOrlandoAJC. Tweet out all the stories there. Would like you to go to AJC.com and bookmark the Atlanta Falcons page. You get all your coverage there, including the Bowtie Chronicles podcast and the Cover 9 at 9 blog that'll be coming out every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. The Bowtie Chronicles, we do 2 episodes a week. One on Wednesday, looking ahead to the next opponent. And then we do one right after the game. Sometimes I do it at night, but if I'm too hot and I need to think a little bit, I'll wait until the morning. Last week, I waited till the morning. But yeah, that's where you can find us on Facebook page, Atlanta Falcons News Now. That's our Facebook page.
Oh, D-Led, that's a real honest talk, man, because, even me myself, I try not to rant on Twitter, but I literally had created 2 hashtags. Fire them all. That was one of my hashtags, and Falcons Fiasco, because that's what it just seemed like to me. It just seemed like, nonsense. But anyway, listen, we appreciate you for joining us as always. Good, bad, or indifferent. Falcons winning, Falcons not winning. You've been so gracious to come on our broadcast. I want to just, again, let people know that, people oftentimes see people in the media, they say that's all they do and that's it. But I want to just give a big shout out to D-Led while he's on the air here with us. He also is an adjunct professor. And so I've actually seen him to be out at the game with his students and actually bringing them through the process of not just how to be a good blogger or a reporter, but to really kind of analyze the game and then put their thoughts on paper to understand how it is to properly interview athletes, how it is to properly analyze and break down the game and the key points of the game. And kudos to you for really bringing these young men. I've seen you at the Hawks games. I've seen you obviously at the Falcons games. And so, again, and the Georgia game. So we appreciate you, man, all the hard work that you're doing and giving back in real time.
Well, thank you, Reverend. I certainly appreciate it. That's been a joy to be able to, give some of that back into the community from my years at Clark Atlanta and now at the University of Georgia. And if a kid calls up, I try to help them. I got one, Chris Drummond at Kennesaw State that Rachel Barbeau sent to me. And I'll be reading his stuff here later tonight and giving them some feedback. So anybody want to send their stuff along, I'll be more than happy to help you. You can just email it to dledbetter@ajc.com.
All right, guys, you're right there. Those of you watching, you parents, if you have young people that want to really kind of get an understanding of what it really means to be a sports writer, you can go ahead and contact him, as he mentioned, at dledbetter@ajc.com. Well, D-Led, as always, we appreciate you, and we say until the next time, God bless you, man, and come back again real soon.
All right, Reverend. Take care, and thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. That's D. Orlando Ledbetter, Esquire, and a legendary sports writer, a guy that has won awards for broadcasting, and we just thank God that he takes time to join us here on this broadcast and be a part of it here, not every week, but every week that he can do it. And we thank God for him. We thank God for you, all of those of you who've been watching the broadcast. Like I said, I know all kind of stuff is going on. You got the political debates, everything been happening. So I'm just very appreciative to those of you who have tuned in and taken time out of your busy schedule, both live, but I also want to give big shout outs to those of you who watch the replay on Periscope. Thank you. And thank you for sharing the broadcast. We appreciate you so much for doing that. Listen, guys, the show it's time to go. But, before I go, I got to put my preacher hat on, bloop, and just ask you, do you know the Lord Jesus Christ, mighty Yeshua HaMashiach, as your personal savior? You don't? Well, I will tell you, please, ma'am, please, sir, get to know him today. Why? Nobody, absolutely nobody loves you like Yeshua HaMashiach, which simply means Jesus the Christ, the anointed one. Not your mom, not your grandmom, not your auntie and them, not your bae, not your boo, not your BFF. Nobody loves you like him. Why? A couple of reasons. Number one, he made us. Number two, he loves us. And number three, he died for us. So it doesn't get too much better than that. The ultimate sacrifice, one-time atonement for the sins of all mankind. But the good news is he didn't stay in that grave. The Lord raised him from the dead. Mighty Jehovah did that. And now all you have to do to have this relationship with God, the maker of heaven and earth, is believe in his son, Jesus Christ. Repent of your sins, believe in Jesus Christ, go tell somebody, and bam, good news. A couple of things happen to you. You become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. That's right, a full-blown citizen. You have like your official spiritual ID card. Number two, you become an actual full-fledged adopted child of God. No longer are you just like made by God. You're a human being. You now are a child. You're part of God's family. Your big brother, Jesus Christ. How cool is that? And that gets you entry into the best place ever, a place called heaven, where I have heard, it's been described, they have streets paved with gold that is so pure that it's translucent, and jewels everywhere. All the buildings adorned with the most beautiful and pure jewels you can think of. As a matter of fact, the 12 gates that make up the city are actually made of one giant pearl. How cool is that? And it keeps you from the bad place called H-E-double-L, where you're going to have bad people, bad pain, anguish, and heartbreak forever and a day. I don't know about you, but I'm trying to avoid that place. All right, guys, we love you so much. We thank you for, again, watching us, for joining the broadcast, for sharing the broadcast. And until the next time, may the Lord God bless you real good. Good night.